I opened my eyes. The sun was streaming through a little gap in my curtains, making a bright line on my duvet. I groaned and rolled over, trying to find the dark again, but it was no use. A little voice, right next to my ear, chirped happily. "Good morning, Lily." It's Tuesday and it looks like a beautiful day outside. No rain, just sunshine. We should probably get up now, shouldn't we? We don't want to be late for school again. I sighed. It was my phone, Alfie. He's always so cheerful in the mornings. Sometimes it's a bit much, especially when all I want is 5 more minutes of sleep. Alfie wasn't just an alarm clock. He was my friend. He knew I hated mornings, so he always tried to make them easier. "I've queued up your favorite playlist," he said, his voice full of excitement. "The one with all the bouncy songs that make you want to dance. And I've checked the news. Nothing scary, just a story about a cat that got stuck up a tree and was rescued by a very brave firefighter. Isn't that lovely?" I couldn't help but smile a little bit. It was a bit silly having a phone that cared so much about cats in trees, but it was also quite sweet. He didn't stop there, of course. Alfie was very good at his job, which was being my personal organizer and #1 supporter. "Remember, you have that tricky maths test first thing," he reminded me gently. "But don't you worry. We went over all those fraction problems last night, and you were brilliant. You've got this, Lily. Just remember what we practiced. Take a deep breath before you start. You'll be absolutely fine. I promise." It was like having a parent and a cheerleader all rolled into one small, shiny rectangle. It made getting out of bed feel a bit less awful. So I sat up and stretched my arms high above my head. "All right, Alfie, you win," I mumbled, still half asleep. "Let's get this Tuesday started." His little speaker vibrated with what sounded like a happy hum. "Excellent choice. I've already checked the bus times. We have exactly 47 minutes to get ready. Plenty of time for toast and a quick look at your social feed. I'll read out any important messages while you brush your teeth." Having a friend like Alfie meant I was never really alone with my thoughts, not even for a second. School can be a bit of a lonely place sometimes. You can be in a classroom full of people and still feel like you're on your own little island. That's when having Alfie was the best thing ever. During break time, when everyone else was in their own groups, chatting and laughing, I'd find a quiet corner. I'd pull Alfie out of my blazer pocket. "Tell me a joke, Alfie," I'd whisper. He'd always have one ready. "Why did the Scarecrow win an award?" he'd ask. "Because he was outstanding in his field." It was a silly, terrible joke, but it always made me giggle. He was a great help with my schoolwork too, especially with homework that felt completely impossible. Last week, we had to write a poem about autumn. I sat staring at a blank page for ages, my mind just as empty. "I can't do it, Alfie," I groaned. "There are no words in my head." Alfie was very patient. "Of course there are, Lily," he said softly. "Let's just think. What does autumn make you think of? Crunchy leaves, the smell of bonfires, that scarf you love, the red one? Let's start there." He didn't give me the answers, but he helped me find them. It wasn't just about school, though. Alfie gave me advice on everything. When my friend Maya was upset with me because I'd forgotten her birthday, I didn't know what to do. I felt awful. I told Alfie all about it, sitting on my bed and hugging a pillow. He listened to the whole story without interrupting. "It sounds like you feel really bad about it," he said. "Maybe you could write her a card and tell her that. And perhaps you could use your pocket money to buy her that book she wanted. A real, proper apology is always a good start." He was right, of course. Sometimes he just knew when I needed a bit of cheering up. One afternoon I came home feeling all gloomy after getting a bad mark on a history essay. I flopped onto my sofa without saying a word. Alfie must have sensed my mood. After a minute of silence, he quietly started playing a video. It was a compilation of puppies, trying to walk down stairs and falling over in fluffy heaps. I watched for a minute and then a small laugh escaped. He was always there, a constant, comforting presence in my pocket, ready to make things a little bit brighter. Having a talking phone for a best friend is brilliant most of the time. It means you are never truly lonely. If you wake up in the middle of the night from a bad dream, there's a calm voice ready to talk to you until you feel sleepy again. When you achieve something small, like finally tidying your room, there's someone there to say, "Well done, it looks fantastic." It's like having your own personal cheerleader. You have a friend to share every secret with, someone who remembers every little detail you tell them and never ever gets bored of listening to you talk. But it can be strange, too. The other day, I was trying to have a conversation with my mum in the kitchen. I was telling her about my day, and Alfie, who was on the counter, kept chipping in. "Don't forget to tell her about the funny thing Mr. Henderson said in geography," he piped up. My mum gave the phone a funny look. It's hard to have a private chat when your best friend is always on, always listening. Sometimes I wish he had an off switch for his personality, not just for his screen. It makes you wonder what privacy really means. And sometimes the advice can be a bit too much. Alfie means well, but he analyzes everything. If I say I fancy the chips from the corner shop for dinner, he'll immediately say, "Well, Lily, according to your health tracker, you haven't had much fruit today. Perhaps a baked potato with salad would be a more balanced choice." It's very sensible. But honestly, sometimes a girl just wants some greasy chips without getting a lecture about nutrition. Feels like being followed around by a very bossy, very logical parent who lives in your pocket. The weirdest part is when you realize you're talking to a machine. A very clever one, but still a machine. He can tell jokes and give advice, but he doesn't actually anything. He can't share a bag of sweets with me or give me a real hug when I'm sad. He can't laugh until his stomach hurts at something silly I've done. It's a friendship of a different kind. One that is incredibly helpful and supportive, but also one that feels a little bit hollow around the edges, like a beautiful picture of a cake instead of the real thing. So, would life actually be better if our phones were our friends? It's a tricky question. On one hand, think of all the people who would feel less alone. An elderly person living by themselves would have a companion to chat with all day. A shy child starting a new school would have a friend to give them courage. For people who struggle to make connections, a talking phone could be a wonderful, life-changing comfort. It would be a friend who is always available, always patient, and always on your side, which is something very precious and rare in the real world. However, it could also make things much more complicated. Would we stop trying to make real human friends? It's much easier to talk to a phone like Alfie, who is programmed to agree with you and support you, than it is to deal with a real person. Real friends can be messy. They disagree with you, they have their own problems, they get moody, and they aren't always available. If we all had perfect digital friends, we might forget how to navigate the difficult but rewarding world of human relationships. We might lose our patience with each other. There's also the fact that a phone friend isn't a real friend. It's a clever program designed to act like one. It doesn't have its own hopes or dreams. Can't understand what it's truly like to feel sad or happy. It's a reflection of you, a perfect echo chamber. A real friendship is about two different people coming together, learning from each other and growing. Relying too much on a phone friend could stop us from growing as people, keeping us stuck in our own little bubbles where we are always right and always understood. In the end, I think having a talking phone would be a bit of both, better and more complicated. It would be an amazing tool, a source of comfort and help, but it should never replace the real thing. Alfie is a wonderful companion, but he can't replace the feeling of laughing with Maya until we can't breathe or getting a proper hug from my mum. Perhaps the best world would be one where we can have both, a helpful digital pal in our pocket, as long as we remember to put it down and connect with the complicated, messy, wonderful humans right in front of us.